Are you like me and you grind all season and then the G3 degenerates come out of nowhere and passive play their way to the top? You're not alone, because Summoners War RTA matchmaking kind of sucks. I am making this video as an opinion. So you're already going to the comics to be like, you just don't know, you have Laura, you should be C3. Stop. You're not contributing to the conversation in a constructive way. As someone who is starting to create content in the space and newer to RTA, I'd like to give my opinion on what it means to have gone through an entire season of RTA, actually trying to grind up. Now, if you haven't watched any of these videos before, welcome. The point of this channel is somebody who's made YouTube videos for, I don't know, on and off for a few years. Summoners War was something that I threw at the wall and it stuck. And honestly, it has brought me a community, brought about a community that I find incredibly helpful and incredibly welcoming. So if you'd like to be a part of that community, please join. The focus was to get better at Summoners War PvP, which typically takes place at the end of a Summoners War journey, right? You completed campaigns, you know how to run dungeons efficiently. So sort of the end all be all is RTA, real-time matchmaking, right? Or real-time arena. It's an evolving process that requires you to constantly be farming dungeons and upgrading your runes and manipulating your box so that it fits the current meta. But even after doing all of that, you're met with people who quite literally wait till the last 2 weeks and push you out of your rank. And to me, as someone who tried really hard all season with you and by himself, I just find it unfair. Now, again, you're running to the comments to be like, you have Laura and Gojo. Why are you not P2? You need to stop, because it's just not the way it works. And anybody who's been doing RTA long enough has probably forgotten what it means to rise up in rank. The reason that this is a problem is because it does not incentivize people to grind and work hard if then the last few weeks of RTA, people come out of the woodwork and steal their rank. There is essentially no penalty for inactivity, which doesn't incentivize new players or players who are consistent in your fan base / player base to play the game. Somebody who has one broken LD and a couple of passive units can sort of auto their way to a higher rank, pushing everybody else out, and then they can start trying with their team. And if you have the runes and team to do it, I understand the draw. The problem is, again, you are not catering to the people who actually play your game. So essentially, players who dedicate all their time all season to try and win a transmog, get stuff from RTA, they're not incentivized. And after 10 years, you should probably focus on the game on the people who are keeping your game afloat than the people who just randomly come out. The other problem with this is it just incentivizes whaling. If people are willing to sit there and spend money on crystals and runes and devilmons and whatever it may be in the last 2 weeks of the season, of course Come To Us is not going to change it. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I'm sure I'm also facing opposition from other people who are like, well, you just don't know how it works. Welcome to the fucking show. To that I say, would you be happy if you sat there all season, worked really hard, and then somebody came and just took your spot? It's what billionaires do. And I hate to break it to you, bro, you're not Elon Musk. So then the question becomes, why hasn't Come To Us really changed anything about it? And it could be changing in the future. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know all of the ins and outs of the matchmaking process, how people are matched up. I'm going based off solely what I experienced climbing to C1, staying consistently in C1 for at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then plummeting to low F3. I've stopped playing RTA because I'm afraid that I'm not even going to finish F3 and not get the stupid aura that goes around your mons. Now, there are a couple of reasons for why Come To Us has done this, and like I said, I don't know. I think it encourages last-minute gem spending, right, between refreshes and reapps and things like that, and runes and whatever. And also, the lack of competition in the beginning of the season is easier for casuals to get rewards. Because if you just play the beginning half of the season, odds are you get enough points to buy the transmog. But the problem is, the reason it's bad long-term is because it just kicks people out. It makes it not fun. I mean, You watch higher ranked players literally go up against the sweatiest people who just didn't play all season and then all of a sudden are at the top of the leaderboard. Now, I wouldn't want to present this problem, or at least my issue with the game, without some sort of solution. So I'm curious what you think about these solutions and what could be done. If you share the same opinion, please let me know. If you have a difference of opinion, let me know constructively. Some of you guys are very quick to flock to the comments and make a fool of yourselves. So one solution, right, is like rank decay. If a player doesn't play RTA for a set time, like 1 to 2 weeks, they will lose points gradually. This has no ceiling. It forces active competition instead of camping at a higher rank, which does kind of happen now with sort of, you have to be in the top percentage of players to achieve a certain rank. But in my opinion, if you've reached a certain rank, the floor should stop at the bottom of the rank. There is no reason that more than however many people exist in G1, G2, G3. It can't be more. And if that's the case, expand the ranks, make more of them. Games like League of Legends, Overwatch, Epic 7, like they do this. They make rank decay, and it prevents players from sitting on ranks without playing. Another fix is just progressive point gains and losses, right? If you play earlier in the season, it honestly should give you more elo if you win or lose, because you are playing early to sort of get to the top. And then late season wins grant fewer points so that you're not losing a ton of elo if you lose, but you are making progress if you win. Encourages early grinding, and it kind of discourages last week rush. I believe Dota 2 does this, which allows for like early calibration matches, and they matter a lot more. I think I never really played Dota 2, but from my research, that's what I saw. I think that is a solution. Why Summoner's War needs it is because it rewards players who played all season and not just those who show up in the last 2 weeks. Another example is sort of a mid-season reset, right? Halfway through the season, you essentially get a partial reset, like everybody who's C3 just drops a little bit. It kind of prevents rank stagnation and forces you to stay active. I think Hearthstone does this like with the ladder reset, and it stops players from camping at higher rank. The big thing that they can do is bonus rewards for consistent play, right? You should receive extra rewards, extra gems, skin, whatever it is for completing X amount of matches per week. And that's, I know that like if you play a lot, you get more points, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it. If you were willing to log X amount of days in RTA, then you should deserve something from that. One thing I find very frustrating is I'm not going to get a P1 skin because I'm years away from P1. But I've played all season. So the people who show up the last 2 weeks and get that skin, it's like, fuck you, dude. I tried really hard and you didn't. Another fix they could introduce is dynamic matchmaking adjustments. Late season joiners faced stricter matchmaking, meaning that they would verse each other as opposed to people who've kind of had a consistent percentage play, right? And those early season matches become more forgiving. Like, for example, Apex Legends, I believe the ranked mode, the late season, the matches get harder because they want to incentivize people playing a little bit more effectively. This turns the last week rushing or last couple weeks rushing into a less efficient process than playing consistently. A smaller fix is maybe they add placement matches for returning players. Like if somebody is inactive for more than 2 or 3 weeks, then they have to re-qualify with their placement matches. This could set them in the right spot, so that way they're not going up against the F or the C3 when they were P3 and they just decayed over time or whatever it is. And then finally, I think for me, Summoner's War should just be a little bit more transparent in their ranking. I found through trying this season and through my community that the threshold for maintaining C1, C2, C3 is way higher than the actual rank number. They just need a live rank tracking. It should show like real thresholds, like you are 20 points away from C1 or whatever it is. Because if somebody's going to grind up to C1 and they win that game and all of a sudden they're pushed out, it's like, what the hell? Like, if I knew that was the case, I would have just stayed in F3 instead of trying, like, essentially losing rank. I think it just kind of reduces anxiety about the last minute rank sniping that a lot of players seem to do. So I think some of these fixes, right, could point out that it points out that summoners it's kind of behind in times of RPG games. And again, I know people are going to be like, this is the way it's been forever, blah, blah, blah. And you got to adapt or die. And in this situation that currently we are watching, or that I'm experiencing, it does not incentivize. Like, I'm not looking forward to next season knowing that I have to do the same process over again, and my runes probably still aren't going to be good enough, and my monsters still probably aren't going to be good enough for C1 or C2. What type of incentive do I have other than the fact that, you know, I'm trying really hard? Those are my suggestions, and I'm sure, you know, people have had these ideas before, or it's not a new thought, but I'm curious your thoughts. If you feel the same way, I'm with you. If you don't, let me know why in a constructive way, because maybe it will open up my eyes to the way matchmaking is supposed to take place. Regardless, I thank you for watching the video, and I'm going to focus more on RTA once the season is over. I can't afford to fall out of F3. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.